Hi there, Tomster here on the behalf of Indie Structure Productions. Now we're getting very close to finishing the body and preparing for actual fine sanding and painting of the guitar. The veneer actually dried perfectly. The shape came out absolutely amazing. Very small flaws here and there that I just patch up with excess veneer that I have left. Very important to make sure that all the pickup cavities, all the knob switch holes and everything else, that all those are clear of any excess veneer. What I'm doing here, I am marking out the cavity for the hollow acoustic chamber. Now, being one of the first times using a router and making templates, you might actually want to do this a little differently. But this is the way I did it this time around. I learned from my mistakes, and I'm sure not to make the same mistakes again. Notice that my small DeWalt wasn't exactly capable of chewing through too much wood, so I got this bigger Festool one. Unfortunately for me, our big Festool has a locking problem, so the lock came off and essentially destroyed a part of the cavity. No harm done. I was managed to salvage this in the end, but at the time it did give me quite a heart attack. And next up is drawing the cut through for the actual cavity, or sound hole, whatever you want to call it. The thing is, when I was routing, a small portion of the router bit went through the top of the guitar. So I had to sort of compensate my plan, and I managed to actually come up with a solution that worked in the end. Had to sort of alter my design, but no harm done, it turned out great. Using different chisels and hobby knives, I slowly work away at a base to start off. After I've worked the place to actually cut, I use a hobby saw to cut the rest of the sound holes, or cutaways, or whatever you want to call it. The really risky part of this is making sure that you don't make the sound holes too thin where the top is. That's what I did, so this is why I need to make some reinforcement. I basically use a small piece of plywood in the shape of the actual complete cavity and glue it down. This ensures that no part of the actual sound cavity or cutaway or anything will break off in use with anyone who decides to use this guitar. I have to admit that this was a fairly experimental and learning process for me. Thankfully, I have learned from my mistakes. After it has been nicely patched up, I go ahead and recut the holes and make sure that I do a proper job this time. Patience is exactly what you need when you do stuff like this. I have to admit that I was a little too eager going into the entire project, and that's why I ended up making more mistakes than need be. Of course, it would be best if you made no mistakes whatsoever, but what are you gonna do? Fairly straightforward, just cutting through the actual cutaway, making sure that I follow my design and that everything lines up as they should.